Hellogate's Clint Eastwood has lived nearly a century in the public eye, a man whose rugged presence and quiet strength turned him into one of Hollywood's greatest legends. Born in 1930 during the Great Depression, he grew up in a modest household that moved frequently as his father searched for work. Those early struggles shaped his resilience and independence, qualities that later became the backbone of his on-screen characters and his own life. His first brush with fame came in the late 1950s on the television western Rawhide, but it was his partnership with Sergio Leone in the mid-1960s that made him an international star. The Man with No Name in A Fistful of Dollars, For a Few Dollars More, and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly changed the way the world saw westerns, adding grit and moral ambiguity where clean-cut cowboys once stood. That image followed him through the 1970s and 80s with his creation of Dirty Harry, a tough cop who embodied the frustrations of a generation skeptical of authority and tired of bureaucracy, but Eastwood's legacy wasn't limited to acting. By the 1970s, he had stepped behind the camera, directing films with sharp emotional resonance. From Play Misty for Me to Oscar-winning triumphs like Unforgiven, $1 Million Baby, and Mystic River, he showed the world that his talents extended far beyond his steely gaze. His career stretched across decades, genres, and generations, cementing him as one of cinema's most versatile storytellers. Even into his 90s, he continued creating, proving his creative spark hadn't dimmed off-screen. Eastwood's life was as colorful as his filmography. Known for his charisma and charm, he was linked to countless women over the years, from actresses and models to musicians and even journalists. His first marriage to Maggie Johnson lasted 3 decades and gave him 2 children, but it was marred by his affairs. His long relationship with Sandra Locke, beginning in 1975, was perhaps the most famous and complicated of all. Their romance and artistic collaboration spanned more than 13 years, producing memorable films together and shaping one of the most intense chapters of his personal life. Yet behind the glamour was turbulence, rumors of infidelity, secret children with other women, and eventually lawsuits that turned their breakup into a spectacle. Despite the drama, Locke was different from the others. She wasn't content to exist in his shadow. She challenged him, matched him intellectually, and forced him to confront emotions he rarely allowed to surface. She was his muse and his equal, the woman who pierced the armor he had built both on screen and in real life. Their split left him wounded in a way that even time, success, and countless new relationships couldn't fully mend. Years later, Eastwood admitted that her departure had broken something inside him, describing it as a kind of paralysis that halted the relentless momentum of his life. For a man who always appeared unshakable.
Commercialized and compromised. They argued that Jennings is the only one bold enough to call out corruption in the modern church. What makes this clash so explosive is not just the personal tension between the two men, but the deeper question it raises about what Christianity should look like today. Jennings represents a strict, uncompromising vision of faith that demands outward evidence of holiness and obedience. Donnie represents a Pentecostal tradition focused on the grace of Christ and the freedom that comes from the cross. For Jennings, the gospel is black and white, with no room for compromise. For Donnie, the gospel is a message of redemption that cannot be reduced to man-made rules. This feud has gone far beyond the pulpit. Social media has magnified every word, every accusation, and every defense. Believers across the country and even around the world have found themselves taking sides, with some praising Jennings for his boldness and others standing with Donnie for his emphasis on grace. The divide is not just about two preachers disagreeing, it is about two visions of Christianity clashing in the public eye. Each side believes it is standing on the truth, and neither man is known for backing down. Donnie has made it clear that he is not finished addressing Jennings if the attacks continue, while Jennings's history suggests he will not soften his approach in response to criticism. What began as one preacher's accusation and another's defense has now become a theological showdown with millions of onlookers. At its core, this battle is not about personalities but about authority, scripture, and the very meaning of the gospel. And as both men continue to preach with fire and conviction, their followers are left to wrestle with the question: is true faith about holiness through strict obedience, or is it about grace and freedom through Christ? One thing is certain, the clash between Donnie Swaggart and Gino Jennings has only just begun, and the Christian world is watching every moment.